Hello everybody and welcome back to the football betting series here on YouTube, Champions League edition. It's the first UEFA episode of the season, and with that in mind I have 3 picks in today's episode. As it's day 1 of the league phase and some teams are still finding their way into the season, I do have a couple of half stakes here, and that's how I'm keeping safe and gambling responsibly. One disclaimer before we get into today's episode: I am recording this episode in the international break, so the current form for any of the 6 sides featured in today's episode will not include the weekend of the 13th and 14th of September. If you think I'm talking some sense, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Without further ado, let's get into it. We kick things off with Juventus playing host to Borussia Dortmund, and the old lady, they managed to secure their Champions League qualification from their 4th place finish in last season's Serie A. They managed to pip Roma to the post by a single point, and whilst they were 12 points behind champions Napoli, they did only lose 4 games in their domestic league. Jumping ahead to this season now, as Juventus have made a perfect start to their domestic season. A 2-0 win against Parma in Turin was followed up by a 1-0 win away at Girona. Vlahović has scored 2 of Juventus' 3 goals this season. He's already 1/5 of the way to equaling his tally in the Serie A last year. They host a Borussia Dortmund side who, as with Juventus before them, secured automatic qualification for the league stage with their 4th place finish in their domestic division. They did have the 2nd best home record, however, but their away form really did leave something to be desired. This season has seen a return to that patchy away form. They drew 3-3 away to St. Pauli on the opening day. They were even leading 3-1 at one point before surrendering 2 late goals in that one. Dortmund then followed this performance up with a 3-0 win at the Signal Iduna Park, with Guirassy responsible for 3 of Dortmund's 6 goals to this point in the season. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, despite these sides being Champions League regulars, the last competitive match they played against one another came over a decade ago. That was in the Champions League round of 16 of 2015. In the first leg, Carlos Tevez opened the scoring early in the 13th minute, before Marco Reus levelled the scores 5 minutes later. However, the winning goal in this match was scored by Alvaro Morata in the 42nd minute for a 2-1 Juventus win. The second leg wasn't nearly as close, as Juventus picked up a 3-0 win in Dortmund thanks to Morata and a Carlos Tevez brace for a 5-1 win on aggregate. My prediction for today's game is that it's still pretty early in the season and it's difficult to get a true feeling for form, but with a hot start the 2 key strikers have made for either side, I do struggle to see clean sheets in this one, and I'm thinking both teams to score. Now, Juventus have managed to keep clean sheets in both of their Serie A matches this season, but Dortmund possess much more attacking talent than both Parma or Girona, and I think they could make a breakthrough here. Whereas Dortmund, they've seen both teams to score in one of their 2 matches to this point, but when we look at the Union game, the match where they did keep the clean sheet, they still did manage to give up an XG of 1.14. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, both teams to scores come in one of the last 2 encounters, but that was over a decade ago, so I'm not really sure I can rely on this information. The key thing for me in this match is Dortmund's away form. In the Bundesliga last season, they allowed 32 goals from 17 away matches, with both teams to score coming in each of the last 5 Bundesliga games away from home. For whatever reason, Dortmund seem incapable of keeping the ball out of the back of the net on the road, and pairing that with Juventus's untested defense, I think both teams to score is the move. I'm going to be backing that for a half stake here in bet number 1. Our second selection is an Eastern Mediterranean clash as Olimpiacos play host to Pafos. Now, Olimpiacos, they secured Champions League qualification directly into the league phase with their winning of the Greek Super League last season. A really strong campaign in which they just lost 3 games domestically in order to romp to the title by 16 points ahead of Panathinaikos. This season has started in similar vein with back-to-back 2-0 wins over Asteras and Volos. And what I really like about Olimpiacos is their squad has some really fun players which I think most of us will recognise. At the back they have Ruben Vezo of Valencia fame. In the midfield they have the talent of Remy Cabella, Gelson Martins and Daniel Podence, which you'll remember from Wolves a few seasons ago. Up top they are spoilt for attacking quality: El Kaabi from Morocco's 2022 World Cup run, Mehmet Taremi from Porto and then Inter Milan, and Roman Yaremchuk, the Ukrainian forward formerly of Benfica. If all of these boys can get into the lineup, I really do struggle to see a world in which the Greeks aren't going to win this game. They host a Pafos side who, despite winning the Cypriot League last season, had to battle through 3 rounds of qualification to reach this stage in the Champions League. In July, they beat Maccabi Tel Aviv by 2-1. Round 2 saw them take on Dynamo Kiev in a 3-0 aggregate win, and then the final round saw them upset Red Star of Serbia, winning 2-1 in Serbia before holding on for a 1-1 draw in Cyprus for a 3-2 aggregate win overall. This monumental qualification campaign saw the Cypriot side become their first representative of the Champions League proper, which is a real moment of pride for the nation. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, despite the close geography of these sides, they've never played a competitive match from what I could find, so this is going to be a really interesting matchup for sure. My prediction for today's game is that Olimpiacos have the better side here, and they're playing this match at home as well. This will be their easiest match of the Champions League fixtures, and you'd expect them to take all 3 points here. The only positive I have to say about Pafos is that they are used to being the underdogs. They were the second favourite in all 3 qualification rounds in which they managed to get the job done. That said, Olimpiacos do have the better team, filled with quality, and I'm going to be backing them to win for a full stake here in bet number 2. Our third and final pick in today's episode sees Ajax playing host to Inter Milan. And Ajax managed to reach the league phase on dint of their second place finish in the Dutch Eredivisie. They did miss out on the title by a single point to PSV. Now, some people say that the title race came down to the simple fact that Ajax drew too many games, as they did only lose 4 matches compared to PSV's 5. And again in this season, drawing too many games could be the issue for Ajax once again. Whilst they have made an unbeaten start to the season, they have drawn 2 games against Volendam and the Go-Ahead Eagles, 2 sides which, no disrespect, Ajax should be beating with relative ease. They host an Inter Milan side whose second place finish in Serie A saw them secure automatic qualification for the league phase of the Champions League. Just like Ajax, Inter also managed to miss out on the title by a single point and will be hoping to go 1 step closer this season. When we take a look at their form, so far this season it's been quite mixed. An impressive 5-0 win against Torino on the opening day was contrasted with a 2-1 loss to Udinese. When we take a look at the head-to-head records, the last competitive match between these sides came almost 20 years ago. That match was in the Champions League round of 16 of the 05-06 season. The first leg saw the sides level 2-2 in Amsterdam, and a tie would be settled in Milan as Dejan Stankovic managed to hand Inter Milan a 1-0 win, which saw the Nerazzurri progress 3-2 on aggregate. My prediction for today's game is that both sides definitely have European pedigree for sure. They come into this match with a combined 7 Champions League and European Cup titles. However, the main issue for me here is that Ajax are just about as weak as I have seen them in recent years. When we take a look at their lineup from the 2-2 draw against Volendam, you know you're going to be in trouble if the best player on your side is a lonely goalkeeper from Liverpool. Inter Milan will be coming into this game off their match against Juventus at the weekend, a match in which they're going to have to raise their standards of competition to get anything from that game. If they bring that same level across into the Champions League against Ajax, I struggle to see anything other than Inter Milan win. So I'm going to back Inter Milan for a half stake here in bet number 3. So there we have it, 3 picks in today's episode. It's going to be a long season, so I'm not going to go spilling all the beans on match day 1. We're going to start things off on the 16th of September with Juventus versus Dortmund. I'm going to back both teams to score, but at the time of recording, the odds aren't live yet, so I will be updating that in a pinned comment down below. I'm going to be backing both teams to score for a half stake. I'm expecting the odds to be anywhere from 1.5 to 2, and I'm happy at that price. Moving on to the 17th, Olimpiacos versus Pafos. We're going to be backing the Greeks at odds of 1.5, a £50 full stake to return 25, and then wrapping up today's episode, Ajax versus Inter. We're going to be backing Inter Milan to pick up the win away from home for a half stake, odds of 1.95, so a £25 half stake to return 23.75. So across the midweek, we're going to be risking £100 to pick up at least £48.75. Now that will be a little bit higher once the both teams to score odds go live. If you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.